What's up, everybody? Welcome and thank you for tuning in to the third ever episode of Pat Casual. I'm your man, Rob Westerman of GBP Daily, and I'm joined by my permanent guest co-host for this show, Johnathan Beckman. How we doing, John?
Doing good. Got off football early today, so ready to talk more football.
Yeah, how's the team looking?
It was a little bit of a rough week, like a lot of injuries and whatnot. So, kind of working through who needs to play both ways and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, I know you had a tough loss last Friday, the rivalry game. Anything you want to say about that?
Never get too high, never get too low. And that's our biggest problem with going into rivalry games is we got too high and now I got more to live up to. But not now that the actual football season started, gets my mind a little bit off of my own coaching and a little bit more transitioning into stuff that I have no control over.
I hear you. All right. Well, before we hop into anything, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Man Cave Collections. From the greats of the past, the shining stars currently dominating their sport, Man Cave Collections has what you need as far as authentically signed, unsigned, and game-used memorabilia to fulfill your fandom. When it comes to shopping for a dedicated fan or collector, be sure to shop our extensive online catalog for unique gifts for every special occasion, including graduations, Father's Day, birthdays, and more. Man Cave Collections, thanks again. We appreciate it. As you know, John, it's been a busy past few days from roster changes to David Bachtiari missing about half the season due to him still recovering from his ACL that he tore late last season. And then also to switching locations for week one. As you know, Packers Saints season opener. That game will be played at TIAA Bank Field in Jacksonville. Same time slot at 3:25. And whole city New Orleans, state of Louisiana still recovering from the tropical storm. The Saints themselves could be playing in Jacksonville or other stadiums, I guess, until they get ready to host some games back in their hometown. Asking you, John, do you think we have any advantages or disadvantages to playing in Jacksonville as opposed to New Orleans?
Yeah, I mean, huge advantage not playing in New Orleans. I mean,
Right.
That's that's notoriously one of the hardest places to play. So I would say, as far as noise is concerned, coming out week one, and although we have a lot of returning starters, it's good to not have to go play there. If you ask about the bad, I don't know. For some reason, we seem to struggle in the state of Florida.
Yeah, it's hot.
It's hot when it gets hot. For some reason, when we played Tampa Bay the last 5 years and play, even when we played down in, we go play Jacksonville or go play Miami. It always has.
The Dolphins game was a thriller towards the end, low scoring, the little fake spike, and I believe it was Andrew Corliss with the game-winning touchdown.
Yeah, it was. So I mean, as far as that, I'd much rather see Green Bay have to go play there than go play in New Orleans. That's just a tough place to play.
Yeah, I know there were talks that AT&T Stadium in Dallas could have been a potential spot for the game.
Well,
that would have been nice. Personally, I would have loved to go win another game there.
All the memes for that. That would be.
Oh yeah.
They say Aaron Rodgers owns that stadium, so
he sure does. We've had quite the success there, including Super Bowl 45. So with that, we're just going to dive into the roster. Obviously, yesterday, cut down to 53 was done. I know you and myself have been kind of keeping track pretty closely as far as practice squad guys today, who made it yesterday and who didn't. Anything off the bat that surprised you or didn't surprise you about the roster overall?
Maybe not the biggest name, and we'll get into it a little bit later, maybe, but J.K. Scott. Finally releasing the J.K. Scott.
Who?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
I think for anybody that pays attention in Packerland, that he was kind of a fail on that end.
Yeah, which stunk because we've seen bombs from him.
Yeah.
And then just 2 weeks ago we saw a dud when it was a 26-yarder. That's
Yeah.
just ridiculous. How can you go from,
Yeah, I'd say Malik Taylor obviously was a pleasant surprise in the
yeah,
preseason. Um,
especially, I mean, for the
and
receiving, just the receiving
you
aspect.
know,
Obviously, we knew he played special teams quite a bit.
Royce Newman might turn into a starter.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So
Yep. No,
yeah,
I'm excited for Malik Taylor. I know last year he didn't. I mean, he was on the field a decent amount, especially on the kick returns and stuff. But the special teams as a whole just wasn't up to par. Wasn't what it needed to be. So even when he was out there doing a good job,
pretty trash for a while now.
yeah. So like I said, even when he was doing a good job, it was kind of overshadowed by the next, mistake or special teams flunder or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So let's jump in. QBs first. You know which two made the roster, I would assume, huh? Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love. Rodgers is here.
You mean Blake Bortles didn't make it?
No, he didn't. Just missed the cut. So we got Rodgers, Love.
About a month ago.
Yeah, clearly the two we expected. I wasn't sure if Kurt Banker would make it on as a third or not. Personally, with the COVID rules and the situational things that could happen, I thought maybe they'd roll with three. I guess you never know, especially risking that he might get scooped up by another team. But he was released and then brought back on the practice squad, so that's good. Were you under the impression that Bankert would get picked up by somebody else, or did you think he would get back to us and be put on the practice squad?
Oh gosh, I mean, at the
He
end of the
played
day,
pretty well in the preseason.
at the end of the day, you're right. At the end of the day, he is a third quarterback. So, yeah, he's behind probably two starters realistically. But it's good to see him back. That way, you at least have some familiarity. But at the end of the day, let's just hope that he doesn't have to be activated.
Well, if he is on the team for any reason, that means other bad news.
Yeah, he's a fan favorite, though.
Yeah, he is. I personally liked him with his longer hair before he chopped it off, but I get it. Clean cut. He looked good with the mullet. That's, I think, maybe kind of what caught everybody's eye to begin with was the hair. That's what I saw, but
yeah,
hey, it is what it is. Next up, we got running backs. Obviously, Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon, and Colin Hill. No surprises there. I don't know if you were thinking of anybody else, Patrick Taylor, Dexter Williams. I know you're a big Dexter Williams fan.
Yeah, I was just about to say, to be honest, I think Kylan Hill kind of came in and gave him his last drink of the night.
Oh, for sure. I mean, when he caught the screen pass the first game, and then for a touchdown, 22-yarder, I believe, from Love, and then the next game scored again. And at that point, even at the end of the second game through two games, he scored two of our only touchdowns, if I believe. I stand corrected. We did score another touchdown during the Jets game. But anyways.
Didn't score very much this preseason.
Yeah, it was not the most ideal situation as far as the offense. But
saving the big plays for the real.
Oh, yeah. We don't want to give away what we got. So anyways, Dexter Williams, a former 6th-round draft pick, was released and not brought back. However, Patrick Taylor was. He's in the practice squad now. He's a big dude, like a Brandon Jacobs type of guy. Throw his name in there. You think Colin Hill will see much playing time this season, or you think he's kind of bottom of the barrel, not many touches to go around?
I would be hard-pressed to see. I mean, I'd be surprised if he got much. I mean, to be honest, you've got the best of both worlds in Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. That, unless there's some sort of injury. I mean, obviously, if, somebody's down, he's going to see the ball a little bit because that Green Bay never plays a, hey, this guy's going to get the ball 30 touches type game.
Oh, yeah.
And I know a lot of guys in Packerland always get mad about that with Aaron Jones not being utilized enough. And I didn't like how much he was utilized when we had Mike McCarthy. But at the same time, the reason why he's been so successful and been fairly healthy is because we don't grind him into the ground.
Right, and that's what I was about to say too. I'm cool with, not half and half, but, 60, 40, 65, 35, Aaron Jones, and then A.J. Dillon. You narrow that down a little bit more and you throw 10% of Colin Hill in there just to keep those guys fresh, especially with the, extended season this year. We need those guys come playoff time. Although, we had them healthy last year and, Aaron Jones did fumble in the NFC Championship game, and that's fine. It's whatever, things happen. But, I just think keeping them healthy, and we might see more Colin Hill than what we are guessing, but I guess only time will tell. Kind of one of those gadget guys. I don't know if, Amari Rodgers will take over some of that sweep stuff, or if they'll throw Colin Hill in there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't foresee Randall Cobb doing a whole lot of that. Probably want to keep him healthy. I don't know if that'd be the smartest decision. But let's move on here. The receiving room. We kept 6. You think we keep 6, or you think we keep 7? Or do you think we keep 5?
Yeah, well, I definitely thought we'd keep 6. It just came down to injuries at different positions. I figured 6 would be it because we probably need that extra offensive lineman, and then kind of what we'll touch on in a few minutes, the outside linebackers. It seemed like they kept an extra one.
Yep.
Because of a potential.
6 guys, you know them all: Adams, Lazard, MVS, Cobb, Amari Rodgers, and Malik Taylor. Obviously, with Bunches no longer on the team. And what unfortunately was an injury-plagued preseason for Juwan Winfrey, somebody that a lot of people fell in love with, thought maybe he could have cracked this roster if we were going to keep 6 or 7. But he was hurt, didn't really get a chance to play at all, and most of what he did was during rookie minicamp and OTAs. EQ and Chris Blair were surprisingly brought back to the practice squad. I don't know how you feel about that. I'm not really thrilled. Juwan Winfrey's back in the practice squad too, but
I guess
EQ,
I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm not. The only reason why I'm not surprised on EQs because little by little he's found his way to hold on to his spot on the roster, and that was their way.
Out playing special teams,
that was their way of if somebody gets hurt, you can put because at the end of the day, 12 once guys on the field that at least know what they're doing.
Played.
And so
I get it.
He's a fail safe. Worst comes to worst, activate him. He can play 10 snaps and move on.
Completely agree. That kind of leaves one guy who I personally liked. Came from the CFL, Reggie Begleton. Begleton, not exactly sure how to pronounce his last name. But were you surprised that he wasn't brought back in favor of EQ and Chris Blair, who, for Blair's sake, didn't even make the top 80 for this team? Kind of surprised me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I don't know too much into the Blair situation. I'm not that surprised personally on the EQ thing because I just feel like they wanted a guy that's been around and in the practice squad. He at least gives you looks that can do you something. But at the end of the day, too, if you have somebody with COVID, you want to have somebody probably more than ever that knows what the hell they're doing on short notice.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I like Reggie Bagel. I don't think he got the chance to really, he played a decent amount in the preseason and obviously was with the team all last year. So I'm sure he knows the plays, but as far as EQ, he's actually been out there, granted he's had a couple, drops or whatnot and some weird plays, but he's had a couple decent plays, a couple third down conversions. And I guess if somebody does get hurt, bring him back in. It's not a big deal. I liked, Reggie because he could have been a punt returner. Maybe it seemed like every time we watched him, at least for me in the preseason, when he got the ball, it was, 1 foot in the ground and upfield he went. And after the catch seemed to be somewhat electric. I know that's what he was known for in the CFL.
Yeah.
So, tight ends, nothing much changed here. Tanya and Mercedes Lewis, Josiah DeGuara, Dominique Daphne, Jay Sternberger, as we all know, missing the first 2 games due to his suspension. One thing I do know for sure is I think Robert Tanya is going to pick up where he left off last season. Obviously balled out. I've heard nothing but great things. And even when I was up at training camp, he was just catching everything that came his way. All the reporters and everybody covering the team has said, more often than not that he's the MVP of training camp. And I don't know, over under for you last year, he had 11 touchdowns, more or less, or the same. What do you think?
I think around the same, but it's just so hard because there's so many guys that get touchdowns that are 1-yarders, and his weren't necessarily 1-yard touchdowns. So I think it's going to be more so around the same. I wouldn't say more because it's just hard to say a guy is going to get 12, 13, 15 touchdowns.
Yeah, especially when you got Devontae on the team.
I think if he's healthy, it's at least a good 7 or 8 at least.
Yeah, I mean, last year it wasn't an anomaly, I would say, but he was so open that kind of makes me think, okay, well, maybe they're with the big year last year, maybe they'll run some more design plays for him and in turn get him some more touches and maybe touchdown catches. But at the same time, it's like, man, you got Devontae, you got MVS, who I think is going to have a crazy big year. And all those guys combined, it's going to be tough to come close to 11 touchdowns, but I do think he'll have more yards. But 11 touchdowns, that's going to be hard to beat. Next up, O-lineman. So we got Elton Jenkins, Billy Turner, Lucas Patrick, Josh Myers, Royce Newman, John Runyon, Yosh Nijman, Dennis Kelly, and Jake Hansen, who Jake Hansen had a terrible last game, but he still made the roster, so good for him. We'll see where that goes. David Bachtiari, the guy we're missing, dog barking freaked me out for a minute. Hey, Blake, I appreciate you tuning in.
All right, I've got 180-pound Great Dane.
Whose name is?
Lambo.
Let's go. Let's go. Hey, okay, Cope, the 50s throwback Adams jersey looks fresh. Thank you, sir. And a big shout out to, let's see who did that. Suzanne from the Packers Pro Shop. Thank you, Suzanne, for hooking me up. Anyways, Deebach, David Bachtiari. He's placed on the PUP list, which means he'll miss the first 6 weeks of the season. I don't know about you, but I remember where I was when I got the notification that he went down with the torn ACL. And right away I texted you.
I was in San Diego on my way to take pictures with my wife and newborn son. We were on our way to the beach, and all I said was, "Are you effing kidding me?" And for about 10 minutes, all I could do is just sit there and be like really?
Yeah, no shit. I mean, I texted you immediately and was just like,
it ruined the whole mood. You know how hard it is to fake a smile then?
Oh, I'm sure. Like, I sat there and like all night, we had a couple people over, my sister-in-law and her husband, fiance, excuse me. We had them over, and multiple times throughout that night, I was like, man, I still cannot believe that he tore his ACL. Like, it just sucked because obviously you know what happened. In the Rams game, we did fine, but that Bucks game, we just got tore TF up. So,
yeah, it hurt. I mean, at the end of the day, I think Billy Turner can play left tackle or not Billy Turner. Elton Jenkins will play the left tackle extremely well, but we're going to be better when they're both on the field.
Oh, for sure. Like I said, I remember where I was. I was shocked, pissed, sad, everything in between, because we know how important he is to this team. And obviously last year moving forward, Goody said as much today during his press conference. He said David Bachtiari is a cornerstone piece of this organization and that he did not want to jeopardize his long-term health. I get that. Did you think he was going to be ready for week 1 this season, or were you thinking we'd have to start without him?
That was as much of a guess as it was if Aaron Rodgers was coming back. It was like you never, because you saw him, he's doing all the work. But I mean, at the end of the day, I was hoping that if anything, he'd just have to miss 2 weeks. I mean, 6 weeks sucks.
6 weeks. I mean, that's dang near half the season. I mean, he can't practice for 6 weeks. So his first week of practice will be week 7, which we play the Washington football team, which, by the way, we'll be rocking these that week. So even if he is cleared, it might take longer than a week for him to, get up to speed and just kind of.
We're gonna have to go against Saints,
Yep.
Detroit's, whatever. San Francisco.
Yeah, we got some heavy D lines we're going up against here.
No TJ, or he won't have him against TJ Watt.
Yep.
Won't have him against Khalil Mack. So
he's trash, anyways. That's cool. At least Khalil. I was getting back and forth with the Bears fan on Twitter. We're just kind of chatting, talking about Khalil Mack, and I was aware of it a little bit, but Khalil Mack predominantly lines up over the right tackle. And even last year, I mean, Rick Wagner took care of him, and that's cool. But still, that defensive line as a whole for the Bears is, scary with Akeem Hicks. That dude's a freaking monster. I personally, when he was out last year, I think it was the second game we played them. I wasn't not thankful, but he's the more scary one to me than Khalil Mack. I mean, we can seem like to manage him a little bit, but when Akeem Hicks is on the field and busting up the middle like that, man, he was wreaking havoc.
So to answer your question, K-Cope, he has to sit out the first 6 games of the season for, whether your team has a bye week in week 5, they have to sit out 6 games, regardless if they're healthy or not. It's not week 8 specifically. It's just 6 games.
Yep. So the first game he'll be back for is the Washington football team. So, but that's what he's cleared to do as far as bringing him off the PUP list. They could bring him off the PUP list and then keep him out for another week if they feel, they need to give him a little more time, which I'm cool with that. We just gave him the bag. Like Goody said today, he's a corner piece to the organization. So I'm cool with making sure he's coming back, as healthy as he can. I'm sure you're in the same boat, John.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is if you're going to miss 6 weeks.
Might as well miss 7. I don't really think it'll matter because
we're so far away. I mean, we're 2 months away from that date. So,
and we'll be 6-0 probably. So, if anything, we can kind of if we need to give him another week, that's cool. Anyways, on to the defensive line. Not much has changed here besides the addition of TJ Slayton and the somewhat surprisingly Jack Heflin. We got Kenny Clark, Dean Lowry, Kingsley Kiki, Tyler Lancaster, TJ Slayton, big TJ Slayton, and Jack Heflin. We live in Iowa. I was made aware of this guy, pretty early on, and it is cool to hear his story. Started on as a walk-on, Northern Illinois, turned into a 3-year starter there, then transferred to Iowa, played for the Hawks, started his last year there, and was an undrafted free agent, and then all the way to making the initial 53. Good said today when asked about him, he said he kept making plays. I like the guy. It's fun. People are calling him the big trash can full of dirt. Is that a compliment or insult? Yeah. What do you think?
It's supposed to be a compliment. Can't move him.
No, that's what I was thinking too. If anything, if you can clog up the middle of the defense, I'm all for it.
Yeah, we need that, which is why we brought on Snacks last year late.
Oh yeah, yep. Where is Snacks? Now that I think, is he even playing anymore?
I don't know. But yeah, no, it would be interesting. We need good defensive linemen play, but that kind of goes into the inside linebackers.
Yeah,
we need better inside linebacker play, and we don't have too much of a switch up on that this year.
Our home guy, Kamal Martin, gone. The stable of that room. So moving on, outside linebacker, we got Zadarius, Preston, Rashawn Gary, Johnathan Garvin, Chauncey Rivers. Before we get into Zadarius and his situation, I want to give a shout out to Chauncey Rivers. He was featured on Last Chance U after being kicked out of Georgia his freshman year. He's now all the way on to the Green Bay 53-man roster. Bravo, Chauncey. That's an incredible journey. I don't know if you ever watched Last Chance U. I did. His name doesn't come to mind immediately, but I'm sure those of you who are huge into it, kind of rooting for him watching. I know those guys sometimes make NFL rosters, rarely, but when they do, it's pretty well known around that little community. Do you ever watch that show?
I watched it. Oh gosh, I mean it was 3 years ago.
Did you watch it with that one coach who was a badass and was super getting in fights?
Yeah, he was like a bigger dude, always yelling, kind of a fatter dude. Yeah, I can't remember.
He was from Compton.
It's been 3 or 4 years since I've seen it because I didn't see the one there. I didn't see the last football. I watched. I've watched like Friday Night Lights, and I'm watching All American right now.
Oh yeah, I'm watching All American too. Are you all caught up?
Well, I mean, I'm in season 3, episode 4, something like that.
Season 4 comes out, or is it season 5? Whatever. The next newest season comes out in October. I'm all caught up and kind of waiting for it. So
yeah, I'm on season 3, episode 4. It just we watch so many different things on Netflix that sometimes we don't. I actually got caught in watching like 2 episodes of Friday Night Lights the other day, but I'm like, no, I got to finish All American first. But
I know Friday Night Lights is so good.
Yeah, no, I mean it's good to see some of those guys because I mean they've got crazy good athletes that played at some of those schools. What was it like It wasn't like Southern Alabama or something like that. What was the school that was on it or something?
Who, Last Chance U?
Yeah. It was like
some school in Kansas, at least as far as the.
No, the one before that was like in Alabama or something like that. But either way, whatever.
Mississippi, I think. Anyways, now that we're on the Netflix thing, I just wanted to chime in and give a little shout out. I've been watching Outer Banks. You ever heard of that?
I have, but I have not watched it yet.
It's solid. I'm not going to go on a tangent. I'll just say it's a good show. I'm in episode 4 or 5, and it's good. So give it a listen. All right. So on to Z. Today, Coach LaFleur said his status is still up in the air and that he is getting better. Added that he's optimistic that he'll be out there sooner rather than later. Is this something we should be concerned about? Whether the injury is a serious one or
I don't know. They just haven't said much about it. So as long as it's not contract related, it is.
Yeah, and that's fine. Somebody asked Coach a week or so ago if it was, and I think all he said was no. I don't know. I don't want to dig in too much because it's just kind of one of those things. They're not talking about it, so I'll just leave it at that. You think guys like Preston Smith and Rashawn Gary can kind of cover and keep that?
Let Rashawn Gary be that beast that everyone's talking about him being in camp. If he can do that,
not that I'd like Zadarius hurt by any means, but the silver lining is Rashawn will be out there a lot more, and if he, like you said, is the beast like everyone's saying he is during camp, and we see his videos in the off season of him training and doing whatnot. He looks like a beast. He played good when he was in last year. So if he can get in there and kind of show us what he's got, then that's fine with me. And then Zadarius comes back healthy and ready to roll in week 2, week 3.
Yeah, we might just have to not squeak out because we got a lot of good players, but it might just
hold it down.
By the time we get to week 3, week 4, we might get them back, but we also might be losing some guys in week 3, week 4. So,
yep, completely agree. Inside linebacker room, got Devondre Campbell, Chris Barnes, Orrin Burks, Ty Summers, Isaiah McDuffie. This room looks about as I was going to expect it.
As average as could be.
Average. Besides Isaiah McDuffie, I know he was kind of a late preseason, not surprised, but kind of caught on, especially that last game. He was all over the place. I think he had like 8 or 9 tackles and whatnot. Looked fast. Nothing surprised us here. Next up, we got cornerback room. Obviously, Jair, the best corner in the league. Kevin King, Eric Stokes, the first-round draft pick. Shannon Sullivan, Shamar Jean Charles, and Isaac Yodom. Yadam. Sorry. Yadam. My bad. That's our room. I like the Jair Kevin King CB1 CB2 combo. And if something goes wrong, we got Eric Stokes. How long do you think Eric Stokes is? How long until Eric Stokes is cornerback 2 instead of King? What do you think?
Oh my gosh. I'm at a loss for words. It becomes one of those things that, Detroit, their passing game won't be that great. San Francisco, they got good receivers. I'm looking at like the Pittsburgh game might be one where Kevin King's going to be very important because they've got three good receivers and he's got to step up.
Donnie Johnson, Juju.
Cincinnati's got some good young receivers, but really, we don't play a great offense. Well, San Francisco can be good. Pittsburgh's okay, but we don't play a great offense till Kansas City, really. Arizona's so-so.
Yeah,
we really don't play like some great offenses. San Francisco can obviously be schemed really well, but there's definitely opportunity where he needs to bounce back and be good. Because the Saints don't have Michael Thomas early on.
Yep.
Plus, Jameis is going to be a wild card. So
one thing we know for sure is he'll be slinging it around everywhere.
I just don't know the answer to that question because Kevin King's he's up and down. He's up
like
and
a
down.
J.K. Scott-ish. But personally, I think barring an injury, I think King will keep his spot longer than what most people think. I've been a fan of him for a while. Besides his tackling, so I think if he stays healthy, he'll keep that spot.
I think it's his to lose because they're not going to throw Stokes in there unless he's doing great. But it's still King's to lose because he has upside.
Yep, no doubt. Let's move on here. We're going a little slow. We'll pick it up. Safety group got Adrian Amos, Darnell Savage, Henry Blackburn, and Scott. Safety group is stellar, in my opinion, starting with Amos and Savage. Henry Black playing the nickel when needed. Amos calling the shots back there while Savage, continues his rise as one of the better young safeties in the league. I think that's going to be fun to watch. And whatever happens with this CB2 spot, having those guys kind of being in a little blanket is definitely comforting to me.
Safety position is pretty good in Green Bay. Definitely top 5.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Especially that combo, especially special teams, Mason Crosby, Hunter Bradley, and the new punter. I pulled up his pronunciation for his last name. Corey Bauyorquez from the Rams.
Bauyorquez.
So, hey, I kept hearing today. Go ahead.
TikTok, time to show up, buddy.
I heard today from Peter Bukowski on his Locked On podcast. He said, the Rams had 2 punters, and both of them were better than J.K. Scott. So we ended up getting one. Obviously, he's good friends with Sean McVay. Maybe they kind of just say, I'll take him off your hands, kind of thing, and it worked out.
Hey, I'll take it.
Overall,
it's important.
I'll take it. Overall, I don't have any huge surprises with the roster. There's a couple fun ones here and there, obviously, with J.K. being gone, Jack Heflin. Malik Taylor, the receiver. Everything else is pretty, pretty as expected. We're going to move on here to some tweets I clipped out. Just kind of wanted to chat about them a little bit. But before we do that, I'm going to throw up the trivia question for today. So, trivia question is, in what round of the 1956 draft was Bart Starr selected? John, I know you knew the answer right as I said it. But we'll just leave that up there while we get rolling here in a few tweets we want to cover. So one more time, in what round of the 1956 draft was Bart Starr selected? Keep it quiet over there, Johnny. So Peter Bukowski says, had a follower today say Jordan Love is ready. It's Packer fans who aren't. Is he right?
I would say he is. I mean, he's right. Because at the end of the day, I think he's ready to play. I don't know if he's ready to live up to. I don't think he can live up to the expectations though of what we've seen for 20 years. He just might be a decent, solid quarterback, but it's impossible to live up to Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. It's impossible. Basically, I mean, I guess Rodgers did it with Brett Favre and one-upped him, in my opinion. But it's, I mean, how do you top Aaron Rodgers?
You don't. I agree with you. I think he's right. Aaron Rodgers is arguably, well, he is for sure the most talented quarterback of all time. However way you want to say the greatest of all time, that's up to you. But one of the greatest of all time quarterbacks is going to be next to impossible to live up to. And then the fans' expectations after going through the Favre, then to Rodgers, and now this. Yeah, good luck. So before we move on to our next tweet, we have a winner. John, that was quick. What do you think?
James Jefferson.
James Jefferson. The answer to the trivia question, Starr was drafted in the 17th round. Man, Cade Cope, man, you were so close. He comes in maybe 30 seconds after.
He just needs to be quicker with his Google.
Needs to be quicker. Whoa, throwing shots. Hey, that's cool. All right, James, shoot me a DM on GP Daily Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, and we'll get something for you. Thanks for tuning in. In what round of the 1956 draft was Bart Starr selected? James hopped on, and he knew it, 17th round. So next tweet we got up is from Maggie Loney. From the initial 53-man roster, Rodgers is the first player in Packers history to make the team's initial roster in 17 consecutive seasons. I knew that, but reading it, man, unprecedented stuff. This season is all about appreciating the greatness that 12 is. What do you think about that?
Man. Well, I mean, it's pretty impressive to make a roster 17 years in a row when most guys are trying to get one or two. But
when you're the greatest, that's how it
works. We all know that Favre could have been longer on there, but then maybe Rodgers wouldn't have ever been to 17 if we would have given Favre more years. But
yep, I think Favre and Starr both were 16 straight years, and neither of them got a 17th. But Aaron Rodgers, like usual, being not odd one out, but being different, goes for year 17. My question to you is, will he be here for 18? What do you think? Next. I get it.
I'm just here for 17. That's such a big. That's a loaded question anymore.
So my thing is if he, let's just say this, we'll throw the Super Bowl thing out the window. If he comes back, and again, reminder, there's an extra game this regular season. If he comes back and throws 35 to 40 touchdowns, and we'll say under 10 picks, I'll say he probably has maybe 6 or 7 on the year with the extra game and whatnot. What if he throws for 4,500 yards, 40 touchdowns, 6 picks, leads us to the playoffs, and then, as you know, the past 10 years, whether we lose in the first round or the NFC Championship game or whether we win the Super Bowl. We'll throw the Super Bowl one out the window. What happens if he does that? We make the playoffs, make a little run, and then something unfortunate happens, like giving up 45 points, and we can't combat that for some odd reason. Is he gone next year? Or, I mean, my thing is we don't have an option, or we don't have any other option to let that guy walk away. I mean,
yeah, but
that's my opinion.
Green Bay might try to sell him for a king's ransom at the end of it. Try to get what they can because they know he might. If we can get a couple first round picks and get something like that out of him, as opposed to being like, he's only going to play one more year. I could see them doing that as well. I mean,
another thing is it's up to him too. He might not want to come back after doing that. He might ball out.
He might want to live in Hawaii for the rest of his life.
Right. He might ball out this year, and the Packers want him, and he'll be like, that's the perfect thing that he would do, I think. He'd say, sorry, but I'm out, like either retiring or goes to another team. Well, like I told you last week during episode 2, I don't know if he's the type of guy to play till he's 45. I mean, this year he told us as much he was ready to retire or at least contemplating it. It wouldn't surprise me if, obviously he's got other, avenues of interest outside of football. But yeah, that's my 2 cents. I hope he does well and puts us in a bind one way or the other, whether we got to get rid of him because he wants to go, keep him because he wants to stay and he's doing really good, or he does average and it's time to move on to J Love. So next up in our final tweet, Packers history. Don Hudson played from 35 to 45. He caught 99 touchdown passes. The Chicago Bears' top 2 all-time receiving touchdown leaders have 90 receiving touchdowns combined. It's been 75 years since Hudson caught a pass, yet here we are. Stellar, huh?
Always love those type of stats.
Not only do I don't forget about Don Hudson, but I mean, we're in our 20s, and he's not the first guy I think of when he should be when talking about, most dominant players in the sport, especially in that area. There wasn't as much passing going on. And to have that to this day be more than the 2 top Chicago Bears receivers, kind of speechless. That kind of goes to show how good that guy was. So thank you, Packers history. Thank you, Maggie Loney. Thank you, Peter Bukowski, for the tweets. During the season, we're going to pick out some more controversial ones and not go on a roast spree, would you say, John? But we'll question some. Is that a good way to put it?
Ken Kavanagh and Harlan Hill.
2 Bears receivers that got him?
Yeah, 1940 and 1954.
Oh, so 2 guys.
Mike Ditka in 4th. Brandon Marshall in 7th. Alshon Jeffrey in 9th. Freaking
dang. That's a
Allen Robinson's only got 17 with him.
Well, that's because he's been locked up by Jair.
Could have came to Green Bay.
He could have came to Green Bay. I don't feel bad for him one bit. But now he's getting locked up by Jair, and that's what he deserves. So, anything that you want to say before we hop off? I'll give you the floor for a second if you need it.
Oh man, it's hard to balance the want of balancing the settling for what we've been. It's time to win a Super Bowl again.
Yep,
we've been good. We've been too good for too long, and I've had a lot of heartbreaking losses over the last 10 years. It's been disgusting. It's time.
Utterly disgusting.
Yep. As the famous line went in the Super Bowl, R.I.P. It is time.
It is time, baby. It is time. When I see that or any highlights to do with the Super Bowl, I get chills. So that's a good way to end it. One more big thank you to everyone who tuned in. This is what I, myself, and Johnathan love to do, chat Packer football with you guys. As you know, we're just a couple of fans who are passionate about this team, just like everybody else. So don't miss out on next week's episode number 4, same time and same place. As for Johnathan and myself, we'll catch you guys later. Thank you.